DTOM1.com. That's right. Click the link at the bottom of the podcast app in which you are listening to this on. Check them out. Use promo code T20Quartermiss. That's right. Redcon1.com.
There's nothing special about being American. None of you can define for me what an American is.
I am the nation. I was born on July 4th, 1776, and the Declaration of Independence is my birth certificate. The bloodlines of the world run in my veins because I offered freedom to the oppressed. I am many things and many people. I am the nation. I am 200 million living souls and the ghost of millions who have lived and died for me. I am Nathan Hale and Paul Revere. I stood at Lexington and fired the shot heard round the world. I'm Washington, Jefferson, Patrick Henry. I'm John Paul Jones, the Green Mountain Boys, Davy Crockett. I'm Lee.
Coming to you from the DTOM Studios in the free state of Florida, sponsored by Maker's Mark Bourbon, this is Don't Tread on Merica. Alrighty, guys, how's everybody doing out there today? It is Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025, and today's show is going to be a good one. We're going to update you on some stuff that nobody wants to talk about. The saga continues. The Epstein Files, Conspiracies, and the fight for the truth. But first, we're going to cover a few things there and updated some breaking news on that situation. But before we get to all of that, guys, a couple things. Guys, make sure that whatever social media platform that you are currently on, that you're following the show. Look for Don't Tread on America on Facebook, Instagram, True Social, and the Ticker Talker. And, of course, on the Twitter X machine, we are DTOM Podcast 1776. Go there, follow the show. That's your best options to find out what the hell's going on with this show. I try to stay consistent as best as I can. For example, today is Wednesday. I've already worked 40 hours this week. Sugar water. And I still got 3 more days to go. So figure that one out. Anyway. So if you follow the show on social media, if you subscribe to whatever podcast you're listening to this on now, if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, Pandora, whatever you're listening to this on, follow the show. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free. There's no Patreon. There's no bullshit. Just follow the show, and then you'll know when there's a show popping up. I try to get at least 2 or 3 out a week. I'm doing the best I can, but I do have a job just like you guys do. So, with that being said, also don't forget to follow on Rumble, Don't Tread on America TV. You can see this pretty face, and you can see the illustrious DTOM Studios. We're going on a little repair work in here. You can't really see that, but what you can see is fine. All right. As for now, let's get this show started, guys. You ready? I'm going to get it cranked up here with a little bit of damn Yankees. And a little ditty I like to call Don't Tread on America. Courtesy of one Ted Theodore Nugent. You guys sing along, you know the words. I'm going to crank it up there for you. Crank it up, rip the knob off when you drive home. A little bit of damn Yankees. Guys, you can email me, DonQ at DontTreadonMerica. And of course, the website is DontTreadonMerica.com. Let's go.
But you better not set your sights on
right, guys, sing along. Sing along. Come on. Merica. Merica. Come on. Merica. All right, guys, welcome to Don't Tread on Merica, the podcast where we dive deep into the stories that shape our world, question the narratives, and seek the truth. Of course, I am your host, Donq, and today we're tackling one of the most controversial and murky topics of our time, the Jeffrey Epstein Files. So buckle up. This is going to be a good one. Winding journey through documents, conspiracies, political maneuvering, and the voices of victims who are still fighting for justice. But wait a second. If there's no victims, there's no crime. If there's no aggressors, who's the victims? What are the victims of? Interesting, right? But we'll explore what's been released, what's still hiding, and some names remain in the shadows, and what a little-known congressional tool called a discharge petition could mean for it all. Plus, we'll dive into the wild world of conspiracy theory, of course, because, hello, right? Some plausible, some outlandish, once again, hello, about who might be named in these files. From former presidents to world leaders to global elites. And trust me, we're not holding back, so let's get this thing started. Whenever you guys are ready, let's rock and roll. All right, guys, first off, let's set the stage, okay? I don't want to talk to you guys like you're morons, but I want to make sure that if anyone is new to the show, you understand what we're talking about and who we're talking about. So who was Jeffrey Epstein? We're going to give you a little synopsis here. So first, let's ground ourselves in the facts, or at least what we know so far. Jeffrey Epstein was a financier, a man who moved in the highest circles of wealth and power. He rubbed elbows with presidents, princes, and billionaires. But beneath the glitz, Epstein was a convicted sex offender. Arrested in 2019 for sex trafficking of minors, he died in a New York prison cell that same year. Officially ruled a suicide, though that ruling has sparked endless debate. His associate Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted in 2021 for her role in trafficking girls for Epstein's abuse. She's serving a 20-year sentence, but maintains her innocence and is appealing. What makes Epstein's case so explosive isn't just his crimes, it's the sheer number of powerful people he was connected to. His quote-unquote black book of contacts, his private plane flight logs, and his properties from Palm Beach to Little St. James Islands paint a picture of a man who was a social nexus for global elites. And that's where the Epstein file comes in. A massive trove of documents, including victim interviews, witness testimonies, and evidence from raids on his properties. Some of these files are public, but many remain sealed. And that secrecy is what is fueling the firestorm we're talking about today. But before we dive into the latest developments, let's talk about why these files matter. They're not just about Epstein. They're about accountability, transparency, and whether the powerful can evade justice. And that brings us to the key piece of the puzzle, the discharge petition in Congress. So you might be asking yourself, and if you watch the news, to be honest with you, it's not really on the news. This is mostly on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. You see the glass made it back, right? Still using it, still in good shape, guys. If you want a fine whiskey glass, you can go to the DTOM Store, look it up. Anyway, so what is a discharge petition? Okay? Probably as simple as it sounds, but let's read. So, This congressional tool called a discharge petition is called a discard. Blah, blah, blah. This congressional tool is called a discard. Jesus fucking Christ. A discharge goddamn petition. Because it's at the heart of the current push to release the Epstein Files. In simple terms, a discharge petition is a procedural maneuver in the U.S. House of Representatives that allows members to force a vote on a bill that's been stalled in committee. So here's how it works. If the bill is stuck, say the House leadership doesn't want it to see light of day, any member can file a discharge petition. If they get 218 signatures, that's the majority of the House, the bill is discharged from the committee and brought to the floor for a vote. It's a rare move used when there's strong bipartisan support and when leadership is blocking something controversial. So right now, Representative Thomas Massie, Republican from Kentucky, and Ro Khanna, a Democrat from California, are leading a discharge petition to force the release of all unclassified Epstein files held by the DOJ and FBI. As of September 2nd, yesterday, Massie reported 134 signatures in just 2 hours, over halfway to the 218 needed. This petition could compel the release of documents, including flight logs, witness interviews, and evidence that might name names. But here's the catch. House Speaker Mike Johnson and some GOP leaders have resisted, citing concerns about protecting innocent people named in the files, like grand jury witnesses or victims. On the flip side, supporters like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nancy Mace argue it's about justice for survivors. So real quick, before I read on this, here's the thing that I just don't understand, and it's what I cannot wrap my head around. If we know there's victims, okay, and some of these victims have come out, it's not like however many victims there are that all of them are unnamed. There are some that have stepped forward, and I'm, Jane Doe, I'm Sue Johnson, I'm, whatever their names are. They've come out, they've testified, they've done grand juries, they've given statements. We know who these people are. Why? What is the secret? If you're the DOJ, if you're Pam Bondi, if you're Kash Patel, if you're whoever, and you have these names, you know who the victims are. Forget about who may or may not have perpetrated crimes against these girls for now. I'm not saying forget about it, but forget about it for this second. If all we have to go on as far as clients or whatever are people that are in the black book or people that are on the plain log and you can't really convict on that, okay, that's fine. Okay? I don't care. Trump, Clinton, Bill Gates, I don't care. Whoever. We have victims who have come forward and said they were victimized by Jeffrey Epstein in some capacity. Why don't we take those people's words for it? And if they say, oh, well, Prince Andrew was there, and Bill Gates was there, and Donald Trump was there, and Bill Clinton was there, and this person was there, and that person was there, and Benjamin Netanyahu, and Merica, whatever his name is. That dude, other dude from Israel. Can't think of his name. Then start investigating those individuals that are named. Because to me, what it sounds like, if you're a victim of a crime, whatever that crime is, but we'll focus on sexual crimes. So if you're a female who's victimized sexually, whether it's rape, trafficking, whatever the case may be, and you say that so-and-so did it, well, I understand also that there are some women that have accused people of rape or whatever, sexual assault, and it was a lie. I understand that. However, even in those situations, you still investigated the perpetrator, and then that person was found to be not involved or innocent or whatever the case may be. So what's different here? If we have, what were we told? There was 1,000 different victims. Even if, I think I said this before, even if only 10% came forward, that's 100 girls. That's more than enough to sit there and get a caseload when they say it was this person or that person, unless they all just come forward and say, no, it was all Epstein. But they're not even saying that. The DOJ isn't the DOJ isn't even smart enough, in my opinion, to come out and say, look, we were wrong. The black book does contain names, but there's no evidence that those individuals had any wrongdoing in this situation. Via witness statements and testimonies and interviews, we've come to find that the only people involved in this whole situation was Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, period, point blank. But they can't even do that because we know for a fact that there's at least one other person outside of Jeffrey Epstein that was involved in all this, because he was found liable or whatever in a lawsuit filed by Virginia Giuffre. That's Prince William. Prince Andrew. Sorry, Prince William. Prince Andrew. So if we know of one particular victim who sued a perpetrator and won her case, then why can't we believe that maybe, other than Epstein and Prince Andrews and Ghislaine Maxwell, that there might be another 1, 2, 10, 30, 40 other people involved in this outside of the victims? I'm just asking a question here. Let me read on. The petition's success could be a game changer. If it gets the signatures and passes, it could force the DOJ to release files they've been holding back, potentially shedding light on Epstein's network. But if it fails, or if the released documents are heavily redacted, it could deepen the public distrust and fuel more conspiracies. But, we'll circle back to this. But first, let's talk about what's already out there. Okay, so I want to read this tweet from Thomas Massie. So this was from yesterday. They're getting a lot of pushback on this as far as this petition. And I don't know why. I think, in my opinion, Trump and the DOJ and whoever else is telling Thomas Massie and them to not do this are far better served keeping quiet. There's still, 70-ish votes, 78 votes maybe, away from completion. There's probably a better than good chance that it doesn't get the signatures it needs. So I think, in my opinion, and I'm not siding any way on this because I want this stuff to be released. I don't care who's in it. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll dive into what's been released so far and why it's not satisfying anyone, especially Epstein's victims. Stay with us. All right. Are you guys ready for a nicotine experience that breaks free from the ordinary? Say hello. Hello to ALP nicotine pouches, crafted for adults who love nicotine and live boldly. ALP delivers perfectly moist pouches packed with bold flavors and premium tobacco-free nicotine. Choose your strengths in 3, 6, or 9 milligrams for a smooth, satisfying hit that fits your vibe. No smoke, no spit, no hassle, just pure, flavorful freedom you can take anywhere. Plus, every 10 gives you 20 pouches. That's 33% more than the competition. So your wallet stays happy too. Founded by Tucker Carlson, ALP isn't just about great pouches, it's about a better time. A portion of every sale supports real causes like tree planting and service dog rehabilitation. So you're not just choosing ALP, you're making a difference. Ready to ditch dry, flavorless pouches? Head to alppouch.com/DTOM and get 10% off your first order. Join the ALP movement and experience nicotine right. ALP nicotine pouches, because you deserve better. And on that note, I didn't pop one before I started the show, so let's go ahead and do one now. It's simple, guys. Look at that sucker. Huh? Oh, right there. Now, this is called chilled mint. If I got to brush my teeth. I don't have to brush my teeth anymore. I'm joking. All right, guys, we'll be back in just a minute. No, I didn't take a hit from the bong. That was from the whiskey glass, baby. All right, guys, welcome back to Don't Tread on America. So, what do we actually know about the Epstein Files? Not a goddamn thing. Oh, over the years, bits and pieces have trickled out. In January of 24, about 1,400 pages were unsealed, including depositions from Epstein and Maxwell. Another batch came in August of 2019, and just this week, on September 2nd, yesterday, the House Oversight Committee released 33,000 pages. Sounds like a lot, right? But here's the kicker. Democrats like Rep. Robert Garcia say 97% of those documents were already public, with only a small fraction, like some flight logs and re-entry forms, being new. These documents mention big names like former President Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, Michael Jackson, and of course, also Donald Trump. But being named doesn't mean guilt. For example, Trump appears in flight logs in Epstein's Black Book, and there's testimony about a 2001 incident where Epstein's plane landed at one of Trump's casinos in Atlantic City due to a storm. No allegations of wrongdoing against Trump or Clinton have been substantiated in these files, but their presence keeps the speculation alive. Other names like billionaire Glenn Dubin and model scout Jean-Luc Brunel have faced accusations from victims like Virginia Giuffre, though they've denied them. Of course, she's dead now, so there's that. The problem, these releases feel like a tease. The really explosive stuff, potentially impacting more elites, remains sealed. The DOJ says it's protecting victims' identities and avoiding the release of graphic material like child sexual abuse content. But that excuse isn't cutting it for the public, and it's been promised transparency. And this brings us to the heart of today's episode, the victims and why they're not naming names. So, my question again says this. You're protecting victims' identities. If you guys know who the victims are, you know who these people are. They're victims. You know who they are. I don't need to know who they are. You guys don't need to. We don't need to know who the victims are. Go to these victims and ask them some fucking questions. We don't need to see the document saying Jane Smith said this about this person. We just need to talk to this person. We don't need to talk to Jane Smith. Once she says it was these people involved, that's good enough for me. Period. If a convenience store gets robbed by, a dude, and they had, it was a 6 foot tall white dude with blonde hair and blue eyes. Well, they're going to round up the usual suspects. They're going to put them in a lineup, and they're going to sit there and bring in the store owner and say, do any of these guys look familiar to you? Okay, number one, step forward and say this line. Number two, step forward, and then, Haji McGee's going to say, well, no, it's number 4, and that's generally good enough for them to go after suspect number 4. Why can't we do this with these people? I don't understand what the deal is here. What are we waiting on? So, why aren't they naming names? Let's talk about the survivors, because they're the real heart of this story. People like Virginia Giuffre, Marina Lacerda, Chante Davies, and Anuska De Giorgio have come forward, often at great personal risk. Okay, let me stop right there. We can't talk to Virginia Giuffre because she, quote-unquote, killed herself, but these other 3 are still alive. That's good enough for me to go after whoever these 3 ladies say victimized them. If these people are just saying it was Epstein and Maxwell, then so be it. But those are the people that we know about. Those are the people that came forward. The other 996 or whatever victims that are out there, I don't need to know their names. I don't care to know who they are. I just need to know what they know. On September 3rd of 25, dozens of survivors gathered in Washington, D.C. alongside lawmakers, demanding a full release of the Epstein Files. I'm going to pause again. Dozen of victims, of survivors. So you take the 3 of the 4 that I just named, because one magically killed herself, and those others that have come forward, even though we might not know their names, we know their faces. Some, like Lisa Phillips, say they're compiling their own client list of Epstein's associates. So here's a person, Lisa Phillips, who is coming forward and saying, I know that this person, this person, this person, and this person were involved. But here's the question. If they know names, why aren't they shouting them from the rooftops? Now, I did see an interview. I don't know if this was Lisa Phillips. I pointed like I was watching it on TV, but no one's covering it, so it was on Twitter. And I don't know if it was Lisa Phillips or was a female that did name names. And she talked about the guy from Victoria's Secrets, the Brunel guy, mostly modeling not agency so much, but people that are involved in modeling. So why aren't more of these victims coming out and naming names, even if they're incognito, they're in a black room saying it was this person and that person? Well, the answer is fear, and it's not just speculation. Anuska, I don't know if I'm saying that name, De Giorgio, has spoken about being followed and threatened, even when driving her daughter to school. She says Epstein and Maxwell warned her of severe consequences, including death, if she talked. Annie Farmer, another survivor, recounted how her sister faced threats from Maxwell that crushed a Vanity Fair story. These women are up against a machine of power, wealth, and intimidation. Many were minors when abused, some as young as 14, and the trauma combined with their fear of retaliation keeps them silent. Then there's the legal angle. Releasing names without airtight evidence could lead to defamation, lawsuits, or worse, especially when accused are powerful figures with deep pockets. Pause. That's fine. They don't have to go to, a soapbox out front of the, Supreme Court and start yelling names out. They can report it, which I would assume they have, which means to me that some individuals within the law enforcement agency, whether it's the DOJ, FBI, or the local police department, has names. Like I said, if this was just a regular chick, which most of these women were just regular girls, and they said it was Bob Johnson that did this to me, Bob Johnson would be hemmed up in a minute. But because they might have said President Clinton or Benjamin Netanyahu or Bill Gates or Donald Trump or whoever they said, they're not doing it. And I know I keep throwing Donald Trump's name out there, and if you guys are a Trump fan, which, trust me, I'm still there, okay? I'm just saying that name because his name keeps coming up. I'll also say this, and I've talked about this many of times before. The reason I don't feel that Trump is involved in this is because, now hold on, I know what you're saying. You're saying, well, if he's not involved, then why isn't he having these people release the shit? Give me a second, because I don't think it's about, and I've said this before, I don't think it's about Donald Trump. I don't think it's about Bill Clinton. Okay? I think this is bigger than what we even realize. Okay? And the fear that these women may have about being killed, well, there's a sample right now. You can look and talk to Virginia Giuffre. Oh, wait, no, you can't. You understand what I'm saying here? Oh, she committed suicide. Did she? I know we were told she did, but we didn't believe that Epstein killed himself either. But we're gonna be on board with Virginia Giuffre killing herself. When I say that I feel that there's bigger individuals involved here, I've said this before and I'm gonna say it again. I think this has to do with Israel, not the country, not the people that live there, not the Jewish speaking, the Jewish people that live in Israel. I'm not talking about the citizens of Israel. I'm not even talking about everybody in the Israeli government. I'm talking about certain individuals within the Israeli government. And then these women are afraid of being killed. Not that Benjamin Netanyahu's going to go down there and put a bullet in her head. Maybe he would. I don't know. But he has ways to make things happen. Okay? So, survivors push for transparency through Congress rather than public accusations. Suggest that they want the system to do its job. Release the files. Let the evidence speak. But when the system drags its feet, it's no wonder people turn conspiracy theories to fill the gaps. And like I said, if these victims are coming forward to Congress, to committees, and saying, we want this stuff released, then why are we worried about concealing their identity? I feel like these women don't care about their identity being released because they're not telling on you. It's in the paperwork. They have the files. It's there. Just read the shit. There has to be something here. And I've said this before. Like I said, I don't think Trump is directly involved in this. Yes, he was friends with Epstein at one point in time. But according to things that we know, once he was arrested and convicted back in, 2008, he had nothing more to do with Epstein. So there is that you have to keep in mind. But before we go on, guys, let's get this next commercial out of the way, and I'll be back in just a second. Hang tight. Alright guys, surf the web with confidence and speed with NordVPN. Whether you're streaming, shopping, or working remotely, NordVPN keeps your data secure with top-tier encryption and lightning-fast servers worldwide. Unlock ultimate online privacy and access your favorite content from anywhere. Right now, use promo code DTOM at checkout to score an exclusive discount on your NordVPN subscription. Don't wait, protect your digital world today. NordVPN, privacy you can trust. Offer valid for new subscribers only. Terms apply. Visit nordvpn.com for details. Use promo code DTOM. Thank you. All right, guys, I'll be back in just a second. Gotta take a sip of whiskey here. All right. All right, guys, welcome back. Now we're stepping in to the deep end. The conspiracy theories surrounding the Epstein Files, these range from plausible to outright bizarre. But they all stem from one question. Who's in those sealed documents? And why are they being protected? Let's start with the big names. Number 1, Donald Trump. And the reason I'm starting with him is because most of your people on the left, not necessarily people in Congress or the people that matter, I guess. I'm starting with him because of the liberals out there, that if you are on Twitter as much as I am, you can see that the whole reason they think these files aren't being released is because he's in them. Maybe they're right. I don't know. Trump's connection to Epstein is well documented. They were friends in the 90s and early 2000s, socializing at Mar-a-Lago and elite events. Trump's name appears in the Epstein's Black Book and flight logs. In a 2002 interview, he called Epstein a terrific guy who liked beautiful women on the younger side. Creepy, sure. Incriminating, not necessarily. A recent claim on X from @LongTimeHistory cites a supposed 28th victim, Patrice Huell, alleging Trump assaulted her after an Epstein paid beauty pageant girls to attend Mar-a-Lago parties. But this is unverified and lacks corroboration from credible sources. So we have to treat it as inconclusive. Still, MAGA supporters are split. Some believe Trump's being blackmailed to suppress files, while others think he's part of the cover-up. Trump himself calls it a Democrat hoax and says the files are irrelevant. I'm going to back up to what I just said. This guy, and I'm not the only one, believe that Trump's being blackmailed. Now, I don't know if blackmail is the proper term. I think when people hear blackmail, it's like, well, what is he being blackmailed for or from? if in order to be blackmailed, that means you have to be guilty of something. Is the way most people interpret blackmail. And I think that's part of it. I don't know that I'm not insinuating that Trump has done anything illegal. I think for the most part, the past 2 years will tell you anything that he has done that people considered illegal, they've thrown at him, right? Now, mind you, those cases are being overturned as we speak. So has Trump ever done anything illegal? I don't know. I guess it's only illegal if you get caught. So I'll say that about that. But I don't know if blackmailed is the right term. I do believe there is a cover-up, but it's not to cover up what he's done. I think it's to cover up what there are names on this file. I think, my personal opinion is that once the DOJ, the FBI, once they started diving into these files, that certain names started appearing from victims' testimony saying this person, this person, this person, and this person. And this person did this to me, and this person did that to me, and then they did this, and then they did Eiffel Tower, and then one guy peed on me. I'm not saying that's what's in there, I'm just saying. And when those certain names started popping up, names that probably most people outside of this show weren't even saying. Like the next name on my list. And I think once those names started populating, they were like, wait a second. We probably can't release this, and I'm going to have to do a spin situation on this. The problem is you're too far gone to put this away. It's too far gone. And the fact that there are certain top-level podcasters out there on the right, I don't listen to ones on the left, so I don't know what they're saying or not saying. I'm talking about the ones that I do listen to, are not talking about it either. Unless it happens to make it on Fox or CNN or something like that. And that bothers me. When some of your bigger names, Patrick Bet-Davis, fucking, what's his face? Ben Shapiro. I don't like him. I don't listen to him at all. I can't stand him. But it's because he's Jewish. And no, it's not. Well, it kind of is, but not necessarily because he's Jewish, but because of what he stands for. Anyway, that's another show for another day. I feel like some of these podcasts that are out there, these guys that are millionaires from being a podcaster, the only reason I do well enough to do a podcast has nothing to do with doing the podcast. I make exactly this amount of money, which is zero, doing this podcast. I do this podcast because I love to do the podcast, and I think that the information I have is more pure because I have no one holding me back. I don't have sponsors knocking on my door saying, we're going to cancel you if you don't shut up. I don't care. So I work my job. That's how I make my money. And that's all you need to know. You don't need to know where I work because I don't need some asshole going out there and trying to get me fired. So sugar and water and fuck and you. How's that sound? Anyway, next name. His name I've been talking about that no one else really wants to talk about. I mean, realistically, like I listen to a handful of podcasts. Okay, I listen to Tucker. I listen to PBD. I listen to Tinfoil Hat. I listen to Broken Sim, which is basically, Tinfoil Hat, kind of. Macroaggressions. That's about it. Unless something pops up in it and the title and it sparks my curiosity. But as far as the ones I listen to regular, that's it. And outside of, say, Tinfoil Hat, which they haven't even brought this name up that I'm about to tell you, which I've already told you. This isn't like going to be breaking news. I feel like of the podcasts that I listen to, now I don't listen to everyone. There's millions of podcasts out there. Who is that time? I've never heard anyone say his name. And this is my favorite person in the world. Not really. Benjamin Netanyahu and Israeli intelligence. One of the more persistent theories ties Epstein to Israel's Mossad. Posts on X and reports from outlets like the electronic Infida site claims from Ari Ben Menashe, a former Israeli intelligence official who said Epstein and Maxwell were both working for Mossad in the 1980s. The theory goes that Epstein's wealth and connections were a front for intelligence operations, possibly blackmailing elites to influence global politics. Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine's father, was reportedly a Mossad asset, and Epstein allegedly helped hide his assets. There's no hard evidence linking Netanyahu directly, but his name pops up in conspiracies due to the prominence in Israel's global or geopolitical weight. Critics dismiss this as anti-Semitic trope, but the lack of transparency in the files keeps the theory alive. Now, I'm going to say this about that because this is the situation that drives me crazy. Okay? Number one, I don't give a fuck that Benjamin Netanyahu is Jewish or not. Okay? I don't care. I don't care what religion you are. Okay? The fact that I think this guy is involved somehow, some way, doesn't make me anti-Semitic. It makes me anti-Benjamin Netanyahu. Period. Okay? Period. If you guys can honestly sit here and tell me that you honestly think that Benjamin Netanyahu is a clean individual, you're fucking crazy. And the podcast out there that have had this man on and are afraid to ask him the questions, I don't have time for you. I'm not saying that I would ever in my life be able to score that kind of interview, but I don't know that I'd want him for me to interview him, to be honest with you, because surely they give you a list of questions that you can ask. And these people, these other podcasts out there who have interviewed him and don't ask the questions that need to be asked are pussies. So, in my opinion, you're better off not talking to the dude. Don't give him the fucking time of day on your show. Because there's a good portion of your listeners that feel like you're full of shit when you interview this guy. Because you're not asking the questions that need to be asked. So, I'm not necessarily insinuating that Benjamin Netanyahu raped anyone. Not even saying that. But I am saying that he is involved somehow, some way. Whether he put Epstein up to this, whether it's a situation where in this client book and these black books and these evidence and all these files that they have, that maybe, just maybe, there's something written down somewhere that says, Bibi asked me to do this and have this person involved because we need to be able to swing something this way and that way and this way and that way. That's very, very, very possible, especially if this guy was intelligence. Other world leaders and elites, the files already named figures like Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, and lesser-known players like Glenn Dubin and Jean-Luc Brunel. Conspiracy theories expand this to global pedophile elite. QAnon, a sprawling conspiracy movement, if you want to believe that, is a conspiracy movement, not a CIA situation. Anyway, claims a cabal of child-abusing elites, politicians, celebrities, and even tech moguls like Bill Gates that run the world. Some posts on X suggest names like Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, or even Joe Biden's CIA director, William Burns, could be implicated. There's no evidence to support this. The adrenochrome myth, where elites supposedly harvest children's blood for youth, is a particularly wild offshoot. These theories thrive because Epstein's real connections, his meetings with Ehud Barak, that's the guy I was thinking of earlier, Larry Summers, and others lend just enough credibility to fuel speculation. I'm going to pause right there now that name came up because I knew that's who I was talking about. I couldn't remember. So, back to Benjamin Netanyahu, my favorite person. Maybe Benjamin Netanyahu's named in these because of this guy. He used to be the Prime Minister of Israel. I believe that this guy for sure is on that list. In the fact that he probably was involved, if you know what I'm saying. If you're watching this on Rumble and DontTreadonMericaTV, you just saw the hand gestures I made. And you can understand what exactly I mean. Then there's the deep state and blackmail. The overreaching conspiracy is that the Epstein Files are being suppressed by a deep state to protect powerful people. Some MAGA influencers like Jack Posobiec tie Epstein to broader narratives about government corruption, even linking it to COVID policies or vaccines. The idea is that Epstein's operation was a blackmail scheme, recording elites in compromising situations to control them. The DOJ refusal to release more files, citing victim privacy, only pours fuel on the fire. Why? People ask. Would the government protect child sexual abuse material unless it's shielding someone big? Period. So, let's be real for a second, like I haven't been. Some of these theories are a little unhinged. The adrenochrome and satanic rituals, we can go either way on that. Okay? That's straight out of a sci-fi novel. It is very conspiratorial. But being the 38th ranked show in conspiracy theories, I'm here for it. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, that's a show for another day, so we're not going to delve into that. But the core suspicion that powerful people are dodging accountability has legs because of what we know. Epstein's wealth doesn't add up. His lenient 2008 plea deal reeks of influence. His death in custody raises eyebrows. The conspiracy theories fill a void left by incomplete information. But we have to speculate the plausible and say a blackmail operation from a tinfoil hat stuff. So, another thing I just thought about too is William Barr. Okay, the former attorney general under Trump, also under Bush. And I don't want to dive into that just yet. So, I'm going to make note of that up here in the old brain, which means I'll probably forget. But there's a lot of things with his name floating around too. And his father. I think his name was Donald Barr. And I'm going to do some digging on those two names and bring that in a later show. Probably not this week because I still have 2 shows to do, and this isn't one of them. This is kind of breaking today. This whole this petition that was filed by Massey and Ro Khanna. So that's why I'm talking about this. Anyway, so let's zoom out to the political landscape. The Epstein Files have become a lightning rod, especially for the Trump administration. During his 2024 campaign, Trump promised to declassify the files alongside with 9/11 and JFK, but since taking office has backpedaled, calling the issue a hoax and urging supporters to move on. This has caused a rift within the MAGA base. Influencers like Benny Johnson and Matt Walsh have called out Attorney General Pam Bondi for what they see as a cover-up, especially after she claimed in February of 25 that the client list was on her desk, only for the DOJ to say no such client list exists. The administration's mixed signals. You like that bruise on my arm there? I have no idea how that happened. I'm old. I guess I'm probably going to be dead this weekend, so don't worry about it. I'm joking. Releasing, that was a nod back to the Trump situation anyway. Releasing mostly public documents, denying a client list, and resisting further disclosures have fueled distrust. A CNN poll from July of 25 found 97 of Americans, including 83 Republicans, want the files released. Even Democrats are jumping in, accusing Trump of hypocrisy, giving his past friendship, his past friendship with Epstein. The discharge petition could force Trump's hand. But if it fails, it might cement the narrative that he's protecting elites, maybe even himself. Then there's the global angle. If names like Netanyahu or other world leaders are in the files, their release could have diplomatic repercussions. Imagine the fallout if sitting leader is implicated, even I don't know what that is there. I must have been typing too fast. Anyway, that's why some argue the files are sealed not just for victims, but for geopolitical stability. But at what cost to justice? And we'll talk about that here after our next break, so hang tight. So we're almost done. We're almost at the end here. But before we go, we have one segment to tie this all together. Stay tuned for our final thoughts of what the Epstein Files mean for the future after this quick break. And I mean quick because we're going to be powered up. You know what that means, right? Whiskey time. That's right. Very good. All right. Power up your day with W Energy. Get laser sharp focus and clean, jitter-free energy with our sugar-free, natural ingredient-packed energy drinks. With over 10 unique flavors, W is your go-to for gaming, working, or crushing it at the gym. Use promo code DTOM at checkout to score 10% off your order. Go to w.gg. I want to say .com. It's .gg. And use promo code DTOM. Get you 10% off. Don't miss out. Grab your tub, mix it up, and be better today with W Energy and the DTOM Show. We'll be back in just a second, guys. So, what's next? Where do we go from here? The discharge petition is the immediate battleground. If Massey and Khanna get their 218 signatures, we could see a vote to force DOJ's hand. But even then, redactions or legal challenges could stall things. A federal judge in Florida just denied a request to unseal grand jury records, calling it a diversion. That's not a good sign for transparency. Hold on. The victims are clear. They want the truth out, but they want it done safely. Marana Lacerda, speaking publicly for the first time this week, said it's about giving survivors closure, yet the fear of retaliation keeps many silent. The conspiracy theories Trump, Netanyahu, and global cabal thrive because the system hasn't delivered answers. And let's be honest, Epstein's case exposed a hard truth. Money and power can bend justice. His 2008 plea deal, his unexplained wealth, his connections to intelligence agencies, it all smells like a system rigged for the elite. So what's my take on this? The truth is probably messier than any conspiracy. Seriously. There may not be a single quote-unquote client list, but there's likely evidence of complicity. People who knew, looked away, or enabled Epstein. Releasing the files with victims' protections is the only way to separate fact from fiction. Until then, the theories will keep growing and the victims will keep waiting. And that's the gist of it, guys. Seriously. Take the list. The victims that don't want their names out there, redact that. I want to see that Sue Johnson, made up name, guys, said that Ehud Barak or Netanyahu or Donald Trump or Bill Gates or this person or that person or this person or that person did this to me. I don't need to know her name. You can put that out. That's fine. I just need to know who did what to whom. Victim A said that these people did this to her. Victim B said these people did this to her. So on and so forth. How hard is that? Why all the redaction? Because the redaction isn't just redacting the victims, it's redacting the perpetrators. Period. And I'm going to say this for the 100th time, and I'll keep saying this. I personally feel, and I could be wrong, I very well could be wrong, but I personally feel that Trump isn't involved in this in the way people think he's involved. He's involved in this in the sense that they're not letting this shit out because there is a cover-up going on here. Who they're covering up for, I don't know. And I think the thing that kills me the most is this. And I've also said this before, that Epstein was arrested under Trump's first term. And that got stalled out. And then he got killed. And William Barr come out and said, oh yeah, he killed himself. I think William Barr is key to this too. But even if you wanted to erase, I guess, I don't even want to use the word redact. Even if you want to erase the fact that some of these individuals that we've named, you don't want to make their name public. I'm not saying that's fine, but okay. But you could, there's people out there. You could get some of these people. It's like an all or nothing thing. Like, I don't even know how I want to say this, because I don't want to, in my heart of hearts, I can't sit there and say, if you want to redact Netanyahu and Ehud Barak, and if you want to redact their names, that's fine. Let's just go after the other ones. No, I want them all. But the fact that they're not even doing that makes me wonder what the fuck is going on. Seriously. That's where I'm at. Let me pause this. Get this other music going. If I was a little bit quicker on the draw, it'd have been perfect. But you know what? Sometimes I'm not perfect. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. Thank you for joining me on Don't Tread on America. If you want to stay updated, follow me on social media at Don't Tread on America. That's Facebook, Instagram, Truth Social, and TikTok, and also on the Twitter X machine, DTOM Podcast 1776. And if you want to follow me on the website, it's DontTreadonMerica.com. Subscribe to all those things, guys. I'm not going to spam you. I don't really post a lot of shit other than show-related stuff. Okay? If you have any questions, you can message me on all those platforms. And if you want to be kayfabe on it, you can email me, donq at DontTreadonMerica.com. Let me know your thoughts. And what do you guys think and who are in these files? Seriously, let's have a conversation. If you want to be incognito, hit me up. Email me. I'll be the only person that sees it. Direct message me on Twitter, Facebook. I don't care. I'll answer them, guys. I answer everybody. It might not be immediately, but I will get back to you. Okay? I work a job. You guys work a job. We're all busy. I understand that. So you message me, I will get to you. Trust me. Other than that, guys, I am Donq. And I will see you next time, guys. I do still have my show I want to do about the Middle East. And I wanted to get to this because I think that has a lot to do with this. Oh, well. You guys have a great day. Stay safe out there. I'll try to be back on Friday, but it'll probably be Saturday. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. See ya.